Good morning, everyone. It's Spirit Sessions, the View of the Light, and I'm all by myself because Teresa's off sick today and Bex got called into work. So here I am, but I'm so excited to have our guest with us today. I don't know if you've ever thought about pets in the afterlife, but I have a lot. I've had a lot of pets pass. I've had some, we think, come back to visit us. Not sure. But we've had lots of pets. So I know a lot of you are cat lovers. I'm thinking of you, Nancy Louise, if you're on today. And she helps with the cat rescues. And I just want you to share this out and get every pet lover in so we can see if all dogs do go to heaven. And I want to introduce our guest, Rob Gutro, who is a pet medium and a weatherman. No, I shouldn't say that. A meteorologist, because I don't know. That's way different than being a weatherman. So,
well, thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
So how does a meteorologist become a pet medium? How does that happen? Can you give us your origin story, as Teresa likes to call it?
Sure. Well, I actually realized that I was a medium when I was a kid. So it was long before I was a meteorologist. And my grandfather appeared to me when I was 13, 7 months after he died. And as we discussed before the show, he scared the daylights out of me. And then after a conversation with my parents, my mother admitted that it ran in her side of the family, this ability. So I shelved that for a long time while I was going to school and finding a career. After I became a meteorologist, and I had a puppy who passed in 2005, tragically, and he reawakened my abilities and blew the doors off them so that I learned how to communicate not only with him, but with other animals as well as people in spirit.
That's a really interesting thing. Something came to me, and I just want to ask you this question and see what you say about it. Do you think pets, like we have come to believe that we write our own story and write our own life plan for this life while we're in spirit, and we come back down to have certain jobs? Do you think perhaps that's the reason your puppy wrote that story? Do you think pets write their own story and say, hey, I'm going down to be with that guy to awaken his abilities at a certain time? Do you think that's part of their
I totally do. Yeah, and for people who lose pets when they're very young or by accidents, the pets, we all know what our life is going to be like when we come here. And we accept the mission, and then we just forget about it when we're living. But Buzz was the name of my puppy. And his purpose was to reawaken my abilities and teach others how their pets communicate so I could bring healing and comfort to people around the world. That's a big mission.
Yeah, because I think people nowadays, because they feel a little disconnected. I think this world tries to disconnect us from each other, that their pets have become even more important than they have been in the past, perhaps.
Oh, absolutely. And as whenever I give a lecture, I tell people that our pets are really like our children. Because we've raised them exactly like human children. We take them to school. We teach them how to go to the bathroom outside. We teach them how to interact well with others. We teach them routine. And I always joke and say that the only thing they don't do that human children do are move away and marry someone you don't like.
Yeah, and then you don't have to pay for their education either, which is another bonus of the pet.
Exactly.
I often, like, people, pets don't have as long a life as we do. So we're going to have, because I think they live so intensely and in the moment, and they just have a more condensed life, but we have to suffer that loss maybe over and over and over again, depending on how long we live. It's kind of difficult. And I guess you kind of, as a human, if you're going to have pets in your life, you heavily invest in them, but you've got to realize that they're finite usually. Usually they're going to go before you. Not always, but usually.
And that's really a good point. And it's actually a good thing that their lives are shorter, because if we pass, we will really worry about what will happen to them, unless we, make a stipulation in our will, which I have actually done for our dogs. But and in the short time that they're here, they teach us what unconditional love is, because in my experience, humans just don't know what it is unless you have a pet.
So true. I don't think we're built as humans to actually. We can talk about it and we can strive toward it, but I don't think we're built for unconditional love. I think it's just like too much survival in us. But you're right. Dogs especially give unconditional love. Cats, there might be a few more conditions. I know Nancy's here going, yeah, I see that, but. I just find, so are cats and dogs different in the afterlife when you talk to them or when you communicate with them?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're as different as they are here in the physical. Here in the physical, cats tend to be more independent than dogs. Dogs are much more dependent upon us. They also tend to be, some cats, they tend to be more aloof when it comes to me communicating with them. They kind of eye me to figure out if I'm okay.
You have spiritual catnip to help them out of their shell?
Well, what I do is I try to connect their energy to their pet parent's energy, and that helps bring them through.
That's amazing. So walk us through your process, because I would never. I know there are mediums out there that, pets come into their readings all the time, but you specialize in it because it's what you've chosen to do, and it feels like more like your mission. Like that's more aligned with your personality and your way.
It does. And as I said, Buzz opened the door and he started communicating in many ways. He moved things. I saw him. I heard him. He gave me musical signs, which are crazy, but he did with the help of a human spirit on the other side. He led me to another dog that looked like him. All of these things are ways that pets will communicate with us, letting us know. But although I do communicate with human ghosts, which are earthbound, and we can address that, I do not do readings for humans in spirit, because people have too many hangups. I want love from pets.
Choose your path. That's absolutely true. Like, honestly. Yeah. I can see how a lot of people would rather work with animals. And I have people that do Reiki that just work on animals rather than dealing with humans, because it's just nicer.
It's too much, right?
It's easier. It's easier. So do animals come in your dreams too, like humans will come in your dreams to communicate with you?
Yeah, great question. Yes, dreams are the easiest way for any spirit to communicate, because scientifically, our logical mind is asleep when we fall asleep, and it's our logical mind that when we're awake we use to discount anything that may be a sign. In fact, when I've learned that there's no such thing as a coincidence when it comes to spirit. That's one of my favorite things to say. And when, as adults, we're taught to dispel anything that may be a coincidence as not being a sign. So yes, when my dog Dolly passed, she's a Weimaraner. She passed in 2020. She was incontinent in number one and number two, if you will, and she wore a diaper for the last year of her life. And the day after she passed, I had a dream of her, and she was standing in the backyard looking at me, not wearing a diaper, and she was standing up fine. And she said, "Dad," that meant the world to me.
Yeah, it's hard. I had a 14-year-old that I had to put down finally, because he struggled to get up with his back legs, and he wasn't really, every once in a while become incontinent. But he was struggling then to get up with his front legs. Like he really wanted to stay. Like I just got that feeling. But when he couldn't get up anymore with his front legs, I said, like, buddy, we have to end this for you. So do dogs, like, that's a question. Like, I mean, I hate making that decision for them. I was always hoping, like, would you just go to sleep and not wake up so I don't have to make this hard decision for you? Do dogs let you know when it's time to go, and are they upset if you make that decision for them, or what have you found in your
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot about how these our pets let us know. So, and this goes for cats as well. Any domesticated pet that lives within the house. Sometimes they will stop eating, of course. Other times they will show no interest in other pets or toys, and they also try to distance themselves from us. And those are signs that your pet is ready to go. Our dachshund Franklin, who passed in 2020, also with Dolly within 5 months, he had spinal problems, and he was 16 and a half. We used to sit with him in the den watching TV after dinner, and his back legs were not working very well at the end. But we put him in there, and he found the strength to get up on his front legs, and he dragged himself in the kitchen to be alone. And that told us right there that he was ready to go.
Yeah, when they're walking away, yeah.
And they are grateful, though, that we recognize that it's their time, because that means that we learn the lesson they teach is unconditional love, because that's what it takes to help them cross over.
Yeah. And strangely enough, my dog, for the longest time, and everybody knows him on Spirit Sessions because sometimes he would just come in and visit while we were on air. But I didn't have a dream about him, and I thought I would for sure have a dream about him, except for about less than a week before I went in for a big operation. He showed up with another friend of mine that had passed, and I thought, oh, I hope that's good. And then he showed up with another friend of mine who had passed after that in another dream. And I thought, gosh, I hope you guys are not just like saying, hey, we're here for you, or like, we're going to help you through. But it was amazing. But when I was a kid, my first dream of a dog was one, and I always call them green dreams because they're more real than real. I don't know how you would even, that he showed up, and he was a dog that was my neighbor's dog, and he had given it away without letting us know he was giving them away. We would have taken him, and he was like my buddy, like, because my mom didn't want dogs. And he showed up, and I remember thinking, oh man. So I called the people. I was only 14, and we had to put him down because he had gotten tangled with a rabbit fox. And I thought, oh man, he was just coming to tell me. So that's when I figured, like, yeah, dogs do come back and in your dreams, but that's interesting. So tell us about your ghost hunting and how that works, and spirits, and difference between ghosts and spirits, because you do a lot of things. You have a ton of books, and you'll have to tell us about them. I don't know how you have time to do it all, but
me neither.
Do you channel your books? Is that something you might do? Do they just seem to come out of you without effort?
Well, it takes effort, but they're all really based on my experiences. So there's nothing in my books that you'll read anywhere else, because they're all based on my experiences as a medium, as a paranormal investigator. And one of the things that I do, I belong to the Inspired Ghost Tracking Group of Maryland, and we have gone on cases in private homes for many years. Helping ghosts cross over and finding out what's happening in a home. So my interactions are mostly with human ghosts. I will explain, as you asked, the difference between ghosts and spirits, because that was the foundation of my first book. I call it Ghosts and Spirits Explained. In the paranormal field, as you know, the words are interchangeable. And to me, it didn't make sense after talking to people who were stuck in places, earthbound, because our loved ones in spirit, our loved ones on the other side, can communicate with us anywhere, anytime, any place, and in dreams. And I've found that ghosts cannot. Ghosts can only communicate with us in the fixed location in which they chose to stay in the afterlife. So the difference between a ghost and a spirit is spirits have crossed over, can communicate anywhere. Ghosts are stuck in the location they chose, and that's the only way, it's the only place they can communicate with us. But as energy beings, they are the same. Their energy coupled with memories, personality, and knowledge, and they both use different forms of energy to get strong enough to communicate.
Wow, that's good. And spirits can communicate because they've already gone to the light and they have that energy, and so they don't have a problem just popping in and out as they like.
Exactly. And there are a couple of things that I've found that draw spirits to us to visit. And one is birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. And it doesn't matter if it's a pet or a person, because pets can read our elevated energy levels, emotional energy levels. So that's when they want to come and visit. They all are strong enough to come to visit because of the emotional energy of love, faith, and hope that we share with them.
So that vibes up our whole area, our whole atmosphere when we're celebrating, and allows them to come close. It gets a closer match, energy match between us.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. That's a great way to think of it. Have you found that animals can see spirits? I just thinking about, like, when your dogs are at home, can they see when your other dog comes through to visit?
Yeah, they absolutely do. And in my books, because I'm a scientist, I have a lot of science in my books as well.
That's awesome. I like that. I really enjoy that.
I use science to explain a lot of things, like the science of energy. And I also explore the science of how pets can see ghosts and spirits. And what I've learned is that dogs and cats have different cones and rods in their eyes, and that enables them to see faster movement than we can as humans. So because ghosts and spirits move at a